Thank you for joining me here. I am Reverend Troy. For all those of you who do not know me, I'm very new to this. This is my first YouTube channel, video, whatever you want to call it, ever. I want to give a special thanks to my cousin Jasmine. She helped put all this together, because I've just come home. I don't know nothing about the internet. I mean, I know a little about the internet, but I don't know nothing about this YouTube, Facebook stuff. So she's filling me in and I'm learning as I go along. But I thank you for tuning in. And if you're just getting with us, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Troy Webb. I've been out for about a month now. I've spent the past 12 years incarcerated. I'm a Washington, D.C. native. Grew up in Washington, D.C. all my life. I was raised in the church, Greater Mount Calvary. I've always been a part of the church, affiliated with the church. But in contrast to that, my lifestyle was governed and regulated by the streets. So much so that it cost me over 15 years of my life. Recently, having served 12 years, home is just, everything is new to me. I'm just out here, I'm blessed. I thank God for bringing me out of prison with a sound mind and with a wealth of experience and knowledge. I come in today to share with you all one of my last sermons I spoke in prison. More so, it wasn't really so much of a sermon, it was a speech. And in this speech, I talked about a very powerful thing. And we're going to dive into this because there are some very, very serious things going on in the world today. Coming from where I come from, a lot has changed, but a lot of things still remain the same. Too many of our young men, particularly African American men, are being incarcerated, killed, or seriously hurt. This isn't my first rodeo when it comes to prison. I've been in and out of prison since I was 13 years old. But one of the things that I've learned while in prison is love is a very powerful thing. A wise man once said that if you want to make a difference in someone's life, show them some love. Today we're going to dive into Galatians chapter 5, verse 14. Interesting scripture, one of my favorite scriptures in the whole Bible. And I done read the thing about maybe 10 different times. But every time I come across this verse, I meditate on it, and I learn something new every time. So I want you all, if you have your Bibles, to get them out. If you don't, I'm going to read along and we're going to get right into this. Okay, in Galatians chapter 5, verse 14, it says, "For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." Now I want you all to, once again, meditate just on that, just for a quick second. And while you're doing that, I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on what I received from this, but led to this writing. Anybody on the receiving end of love and attention will be moved in a very, very powerful way. Being in prison, oftentimes the correctional staff, now I'm not going to say all of them because you have a lot of good correctional staff, correctional officers, case managers, counselors. So you have a lot of them that actually are good people and they go above and beyond their call of duty to help guys like me and other guys transition back into society and stay out of trouble while in prison. But there are a selected few who they treat us like animals. Some of us are looked at as scum of the earth. We're written off. We are frowned upon as society's outcasts. And a lot of us, while in prison, some of the same things that we do to get to prison, we have to continue to do while we're in prison. And oftentimes it can lead to very, very destructive behavior. I remember mentoring a young man that was fresh on he had a 30-year sentence. He was fresh on it. And he wanted some advice from somebody that had been in for a while. And, I asked him, do he love himself? And he was like, why should I? Don't nobody else love me. And, he caught me by surprise with that statement because, I said to myself, like, whoa, that's serious. I mean, I was trying to find something so I can break through to him to try to get him to understand that, this 30 years is not the end of your life. There's so much that you can do while you're here. And there's a possibility that you can get back in court and give time back. But he wasn't seeing that. His main focus, he was hyper focused on nobody loved him. Nobody showed him any love. He came from a broken home. Father wasn't there, which is typical for all of us. My father, I can't even recall the last time I seen him. Actually, I was about 10 years old, but he was never there in my life. I never received love from my father. I never, he just was never there. And that's so common with most of them, in particular African-American males in the prison system. Many of them, they never had a father to teach them and to love them. In some cases, moms wasn't there either. And the only family that they knew and gravitated toward was the streets. And when this young man said this, I was like, it hit me. It somewhat struck a nerve. Because I said, okay, if he doesn't love himself, it's almost impossible for him to love someone else. And, it's that mindset that is like the core root of what's happening in these streets. When I said a lot of things remain the same, I mean the violence. I see, my old neighborhood. I haven't even stepped foot around my old neighborhood. I've drove past, I've seen, and, the same thing that was there when I left is still there. The aura is in the air, and it was so many, I was brief that, there's trouble, there's death just around the corner. And I seen that there's something big missing. And the thing that's missing, and I'm speaking in my neighborhood in particular, is 9th Street Wild Place. That's where I grew up at. That's where I was introduced to the streets. That's where I ran with the street crew, getting involved in crimes, doing a lot of things that were just totally uncalled for. And I noticed that love was just a word that we rarely ever use because we are rarely ever on the receiving end of it. But in contrast to that, when I was in prison, there was a special group of people that came in. And these people were people from all walks of life. They came from West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, D.C., Virginia. Some of them were pastors, some of them were reverends, had their own churches. Some of them were fellowshippers of a church. Some of them were, first time, just becoming Christians, just born again Christians. And they wanted something, they were called upon, they were selected by their churches to go out and to spread love. So they came into the prison and we had like a retreat. And it was something, this was in November of last year, November 2016. And something miraculous happened when they came into the prison. And they spoke so positive. They didn't look, for once, I wasn't looked at as a prisoner. I wasn't looked at as a person who committed a crime, a person who's considered scum of the earth, a person who's an outcast. I wasn't looked at as none of that. I was looked at as a child of God. Now, coming up as a child, I always had many questions concerning the Bible. You know, there's many things that didn't understand. You know, no one was really able to, break it down to me. And the people that did break it down to me, it wasn't quite reaching me. But these folks reached me, and they reached me a lot. You know, they came in, they shared their life story. I shared my life story. And they told me, they said that Troy, Reverend Troy, I was coined Reverend Troy because many guys call me Reverend Troy because in prison, I read the Bible 24/7. I would take the Bible into the shower. I would take the Bible wherever I went. And many guys, whether they was involved in gangs, various organizations, no matter what they were into, guys looked at me and they seen something. I was a witness to Christ. I went to court. I was sentenced to give you a breakdown of the sentencing, I was sentenced to 43 years. 43 years, and by the grace of God, I only had to do 12. Now, you asked me back when I first received the 43 years, how did I feel? I was really going through some things. I was thinking about doing some things that you're going to learn about later, but I was at the edge of the cliff, and I was thinking about jumping off. But if it wasn't for God and it wasn't for the love of others that I received, I don't know if I would be here right now speaking with the world. So this was interesting because this group of people told me that, Troy, when you go home, God wants you to talk to those young men. He wants you also to talk to those who might be in a condition and have the means and resources to help those in need. Now, before I go further, I want you all to think that I'm trying to get money out of you guys. No, I don't want your money. What I do want, I want your time. I want your resources, if you have them, available. I want you to look at it as this is your opportunity to be able to make a difference in someone else's life. Just by watching this, just by tuning in to the Reverend Troy's Christian YouTube channel. I haven't even named it yet. This is to say this is all new to me, so I'm just pretty much I'm learning as I go along. But one thing that I'm not learning is I'm not learning to go back down the path that I once went down. I'm learning to pursue a new path. These Cairo folks looked at me as a child of God. They showed me love and care. And they gave me one simple mission. They said, Troy, when you get out, I want you to go to a church. I want you to evangelize to all those in whom you come in contact with. I want you to share your story. I want you to reach out to people. I want you to spread God's love, spread his truth. Here I am. My aunt, God bless her, my family, they've been a major blessing to me because without them, it was just overwhelming just getting released from prison after 12 years. Like I say, everything is still new. I was released, and when I came home, I remember asking if I could, did anyone know where a payphone was located? So as, because, it's strange because when I left the street, folks had flip phones and, you could still find a payphone. When I walked up to, it was a homeless lady. I believe she was homeless because she was asking for change. And I asked her, did she know where any payphones were? She looked at me and she said, what planet are you from? And I started laughing. I'm like, I'm just getting out. She said, I think those things are obsolete. I don't even think they make those things anymore. So she pulls out a cell phone. She says, well, you can use my phone. So I was taken back. I was like, wait a second, this lady is asking for change, but she has a cell phone. But come to find out that, everyone has a cell phone. So like I said, I've been stuck in time for 12 years. So, everything I'm saying, everything is new for me. If it wasn't for my cousin Jasmine, she's 14. She's the You say she's the executive producer of this programming, and she's doing a wonderful job. So I have to credit her again in the middle of the broadcast. Thank you, Jasmine. Back to what I was saying. So I remember that as a child, there was this device that they called, it was we had a pest control problem growing up in the ghetto. For those of you who don't know what growing up in the ghetto is like, you got roaches, rats, rodents running around. So we had a major pest control problem in the homes I was raised in. So I remember my family would get this device, and it was called, I think it was like a roach motel or a roach hotel. It was a little trap where roaches would go in, they eat this poison out of it, then they take the poison out and they share it with the other roaches and they eat it. And before you know it, they all just die. They just, disappear. And in this speak, I talked about that prison can be just like that trap. Because most guys, prison is not rehabilitating anyone unless you want to do it yourself. It's something that's a personal thing. But prison is mostly just housing. So some of these guys are coming in and they're leaving out, and they're worse going out than what they were when they were going in. But what they're taking out with them is mind-boggling. They're taking poison. They're taking poison to their neighborhoods, and they're sharing it with their friends, their family, all those in whom they come in contact with. And this poison, you might ask, okay, what exactly is this poison? It's the criminal mentality, the criminal mindset. I remember when I came home the last time I was locked up, I too brought some poison out with me. I had a lot of influence over a lot of younger guys. These young guys took to me. For a lot of young guys, going to prison, that when they come home, they're looked at as some ghetto superhero. They're praised. Their egos are massaged. People listen to them. They have the ears of the future generation. The problem is many of them don't know how much influence that they have and how many lives that they can affect and change and destroy also. And I say to myself, Dad, what can be done about this? What will I bring out this time? Will I bring out poison? I made a decision up, no. And then it hit me. What if there was a device, instead of having poison inside, it was love inside? And those whom go inside and they receive love, and they take the love back out and share it with whoever they come in contact with. Wouldn't that be something? And I said, who could make such a device? And I thought about, you know what? The device has already been made. It's already been created. And I discovered that in the Word of God. I discovered that right here in the King James Version. While in prison, I spent many years studying, reading books, educating myself, learning trades. So it wasn't all a curse. I consider it to be both a blessing and a curse, because prison saved me from who I used to be. When I came to church, when I started to get serious with church, I wasn't just going to church, but I was leaving with church. See, many of us go to churches, but we have to ask ourselves, what are we leaving when we leave? What are we leaving with when we leave the church? The church starts right here in your heart. Starts here. I remember having dreams. And I would pray. I remember as a kid, I would always pray, and I would never. I thought God as being like a Santa Claus. I can pray to Him and I ask for a wish. Lord God, give me this. Lord God, give me that. Nothing spectacular happened. And I understand God doesn't work like that. But it wasn't until I did some real deep soul searching, and I faced a lot of trials and tribulations while in prison. It wasn't peaches and cream. By far, it wasn't. And I struggled. I struggled with what would I do when I return back to society? What can I do when I return back to society? And so much temptation came my way. And God gave me the revelation. He said that I'm going to guide you. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to counsel you with my eyes upon you. Psalms 32:8. And I kept stumbling across that scripture. And I prayed, my biggest prayer that I prayed to God for was, when I come home, let me make sure that I stay in your word. Here I am. God wants to use us. This is including you all, including myself. He wants to use us as instruments to spread His love. When I came home last time, I had, all these friends, everyone praising me, everyone telling me, how much admiration they had for the lifestyle I used to live. Guys wanted to be stick-up boys. Guys wanted to, they wanted weapons, they wanted guns, they wanted drugs, they wanted all these things that in the end result would have destroyed their lives. They just kept pressing me, saying, Troy, you the man. Troy, you know what it is. I had friends, I had old connections, I had networks of people, I had people that was ready, to give me what I needed. And I tapped into some of them. And the thing that hurted me most wasn't so much of receiving a 43-year prison sentence and me going back to prison, because I kind of accepted what I was doing. I say, hey, I'm going hard. I don't care. Police they can't see me. I felt invincible. I started getting involved with drugs. I started getting high. I just didn't care about myself. But as I reflected on the past, it's one thing when you decide to do something wrong, something that's going to be destructive to your life. But it's something else when you bring other folks with you. I think that hurted me the most because I was blind myself. And the Bible says when the blind leads the blind, both of you all are going to fall in a ditch. And sure enough, we fell over a cliff. I mean, literally, we fell over a cliff. And I fell the deepest. And it was the poison that I brought out. But I said, this time, no, I'm not going to do the same thing twice. And God said, you know what, Troy, I'm not going to let you, because I have a plan for you. Part of this, what I'm doing right now, is part of that plan. Trying to reach out to folks. I was talking to my cousin, and she's 14, but she's very smart. She's very in tune with technology. A lot of kids her age are. It's just when I was 14, I was a little in tune, but I wasn't as advanced as she is. But I talked to Jasmine, and she shared with me that, your ideas, why don't you just go on the internet, and why don't you share it with other people? And, kids can say some things oftentimes that adults, we too often overlook. Their skills, what they talk about, their visions, their ambitions. But a lot of times, kids have visions that adults can't see. in a lot of cases, don't even want to see. But I listened. And she listened to me. And I remember her describing that, she loves people. I said, that's a good thing. That shows you have a good heart. And she said it's very difficult for her to see a homeless person when she sees them. When she goes to a fast food restaurant, or when she has extra food and she sees them needing food or wanting food or asking for money to buy food, she feels compelled. She feels obligated to share with them. I said, wow. I said, coming from a 14-year-old, at her age, they're usually focused on the latest styles, the latest trends, keeping up with the Kardashians, But to have that concern for fellow humanity shows something. And one day I'll let you meet her eventually, one day that you'll meet her. But I looked into myself, after we had that conversation, and I started to feel even more convicted, because there's a lot of love in my heart too. I kind of look and I see the neighborhood that I came from. I see people dying. I see young men just like me when I was coming up. They toting these guns around. They robbing everything moving. They shooting each other left and right. Every 5 minutes, somebody getting shot, somebody dying. And every time I hear it, it strikes a nerve. I feel obligated. I feel compelled to do something about it. I feel that something must be done about it. It's one thing to say that we love our neighbors, but do we really love our neighbors? What are we doing to help our neighbors? What are we doing to reach out to our neighbors? And every time I watch the news, I hear these stories, innocent people being victimized. Oftentimes, they're not even the target, they're just in the way. Another young cousin of mine was a victim to senseless street violence. She was caught in a crossfire. Some guy was trying to get to somebody else, and she was shot in the head, the abdomen, and the leg. And by the grace of God, she's alive, but she's been greatly affected. Her cognitive skills have been reduced, so she has trouble moving about, trouble speaking, trouble understanding things. There's a whole list of issues that she's going through. But there are a lot of kids that been shot and didn't make it. They died. And one of the Kairos members at this meeting that we had, they told me, they say, Troy, you can do something about that. God will help you. And I say, I'm like, but what can I do? I can't change the world overnight. I can't change everybody. A lot of people not going to even want to hear what I'm talking about. They're going to look at this like, that's another Christian dude paneling. Nah. I just don't feel it. They say, no, Troy, listen. If you just reach one, you reach generations. And I thought about that. And I said, you know what? That you got a point. And he said, someone is reaching you. I'm reaching you. Now, I can't reach the ones who you reach. But if I reach you, I'm pretty sure you can reach someone else. And then that person can reach someone else. And they can continue the cycle, keep going on and on and on and on. And then I thought about, I said, okay. You have a point. And then that's when I had that aha moment. A light bulb went off in my head. And from the moment I came home, God has placed some very, very loving, caring people into my life. He started with my family, with my aunt. My Aunt Rhonda, very special lady. She's on fire for the Lord. The first thing that she told me, she said, Troy, I want you to come to church with me. I want you to give your life back to Christ. And I was a little shucking and jiving at first. I was like, come on, Auntie, I'm going to go down there. I ain't really, I'm going to be down there, But she stayed on top of me. And that was God speaking. God was speaking through my aunt. God speaks through my cousins. God speaks through family. God speaks through friends. See, God is not going to tell you to do nothing wrong. See, everything God does is rooted in love. So I went to a church and I became a member. Temple of Praise, located in Southeast Washington, Southern Avenue. For those of you all, come on down there, check it out. It's a beautiful church. They welcome me with loving arms, friendly people, and just being in that environment. I'm like I said, I was raised in the church, but I been away from the church for a while. Being in prison, I was attending church in prison, but coming home, coming back to the congregation, fellowshipping with other Christians, other folks that not gonna ask me for no drugs. They're not going to ask me to go with them to pull a stick up move. They're not going to ask me to go shoot somebody. They're not going to ask me to do none of that destructive, negative behavior. They asked me to become and get involved in the men's ministry. And, I say, wow. They say, Troy, that you have an experience. You've been through something that there's so many other young men out here in the streets that's going through the same thing that you've been through. They need to hear your story. They need you to talk to them. They need you, more important, to show them some love. Because the one thing that's missing in these streets right now, ain't no love out there. It's just heartless. Cold world. Some guys, they say it's so cold, they keep 2 heaters on them. And they not talking about heaters to to keep you warm. They talking about guns. And they're using these weapons as the first resort. I see guys walking down the street, that they have their mugs on their face, they have the mean face, they're aggressive, they're just waiting for something to happen. They anticipate something happening each and every time they walk out of their house. My goal as Reverend Troy, and as Troy, just as regular simple Troy, is to try to bridge a gap. There's a gap between folks that have means and resources and have time and that have a lot of love. And across, on the other side, there's a whole group of people that just don't care, don't have no love, don't have nothing to live for, struggling from the moment they came out their mother's womb, and they don't care. They're looking for a victim. They're looking to hurt somebody because no one cares about them. And here I am in the middle. Haves over here, have-nots over here. Love over here, hate over here. My goal is to bring that together. Because see, God's love overrules all the harshness and the hate in the world. As I constantly compared and contrast who I used to be to who I am now, one thing I can say is that now I truly care about everyone I come in contact with. Black, white, Chinese, Asian. I look at life from a spiritual lens now. I don't look at life the way I used to look at it, from a worldly viewpoint. God has touched my heart. Satan, the devil, has been trying his hardest over time, trying to get me back to cross to the other side. The devil is a lie. I'm not going back. God has blessed me far too much. A lot of times, I complain. I'm pretty sure that we all complain about things. We all have struggles and obstacles and challenges that we face in life. But one thing we have to be mindful of, we have to be thankful for what we have. Hebrews 13:5 says, "Be ye content with such things as ye have. For he said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee." God has not forsaken me at all. Even when I was in prison, that 12 years, he protected me. He watched over me. Despite I may have had a few little run-ins with a few little issues here and there, but I'm here. There are a lot of guys that's not even coming out of prison. Some guys have died in prison. Some guys have lost body parts while in prison. Some guys can't even see it. And it's just, it's just such a vicious environment to be in. And now returning back into society, seeing what I'm up against. With God's help, I've been through the fire. And oftentimes, to get you where you need to be in life, God will strengthen you by putting you through a trial and a tribulation to give you strength that you can go forth. He has given me that very strength. And He's also empowered me with a lot of love that He wants me to spread. But more importantly, He wants me to reach out to you all, to each and every one of you all who are watching this program. He wants me to ask you all to continue to watch, because you're going to see some interesting things. There are going to be some times I may take you around the neighborhood. There are going to be some times I'm going to introduce you to some close friends of mine, some family members of mine. I'm going to introduce you to a whole new world. You're going to see exactly what Reverend Troy is trying to do. And you're going to be a part of it. See, it's one thing to watch something happen, but it's something totally different is being a part of the reason why that very thing happened. And when I started this, I say, I'm not pandering for your money. I don't want your proceeds. But I will appreciate if you want to offer. I will appreciate. I'm not going to just turn it down. But what I want mostly is I want you to become a subscriber. I want you to continue to tune into this. Not only are we going to study the Bible, but we're going to take what we study and we're going to apply it to real world situations. We're going to tackle things one step at a time. There's not enough love in the world. We all know that. Every time I watch the news, when I was in prison, I watched Baltimore news, I watched DC news. Somebody is always dying. Someone's always shooting somebody up. I mean, it's like, it's sickening after a while. And it's just to the point where I remember as a child, guys used to be excited that DC had the highest murder rate in the country. And I, in prison, I remember guys still talking about it. I'm like, that's nothing to be excited about. I mean, we talking about people's brothers, people's fathers, mothers, sisters. I mean, just gone for no reason at all. Like in certain cases, people was just innocent people. And it's like some folks have become desensitized to that. With God's word, we're going to resensitize people. We're going to, that this just looking at things, this is just what happens. No, we can make a difference. We can do something. We can change the world one person at a time. See, I can't reach everybody. It's true. But I can reach you, and I can reach that person that's close to you, through you. And then in turn, it continues to go forward and forward and forward. That cycle continues to repeat itself. What I want this, we must become like this. I want this YouTube channel, Reverend Troy, I want it to become like a contagious virus, infecting and spreading love all throughout the internet, your neighborhood, your friend's neighborhood, everywhere. And together we can do this thing. There's not a doubt in my mind that this thing is going to be big. I mean, like I say, I'm starting off small, and but God had led me to do this. My cousin, she pushed me, Jasmine, she pushed me. She said, do it. She made sure everything was in order. She said, listen, I want this thing up. This is what you need to do. What are you waiting for? I said, it took me almost like a month to get this thing together because I kept dragging my feet. No, she said, no, enough is enough, Troy. It's time to get on the internet. So here I am. And I'm appealing, I'm pleading, I'm asking, once again, I don't need your money. I need your time. And if any of you all are interested in joining the Reverend Troy ministry, you or wanting to give feedback, if there's something maybe I'm doing wrong, if there's something maybe you can help out, maybe you want me to come speak at maybe your church or your school or whatever you want, or a special event or anything, you can contact me. My email is reverendtroy83@gmail.com. And that's Reverend Troy's all lower caps, REVTROY, numbers 83@gmail.com. Okay, now, before closing, each of these clips, most of my clips going to be about 45 minutes. So I'm not going to take all of your time, but I'm going to take a nice small percentage of it, because it's very important that we do this. It's too much. It's lives at stake. And when I was in prison, the guys in prison, how did I get named Reverend Troy when I was in prison? I'm going to tell y'all this before we close out. When I was in prison, like I told you, I started getting involved in the Bible. I'm going to say back in 2012, started getting involved in it. I went through a serious addiction phase. I had a bad drug addiction. I was doing things that I had no business doing. I was involved with gangs. I was just doing all types of crazy stuff. And all of this stuff really started to get very intense as soon as I started getting closer to God. Satan say, "No, I got to get him." He started throwing everything but the kitchen sink at me. Everything. And that's when I realized, hold up. Why is all this happening now? And then I realized it was the Bible. I had the Bible with me. God was moving in my life, and Satan seen that, so he had to intervene and stop that. Well, at least he tried, but it didn't. He tried to stop it, but he failed in the process. But it has been a blessing just to be home. It's been a blessing to have a family, an aunt, an uncle, cousins. So many folks have grown up, and it's just so much, having a loving family, that for a long time I hardly even knew, that we knew of each other, but we hardly ever interacted. But to have them come together and to embrace me and to tell me, look, Troy, we love you. We don't want you going back to prison. We don't want you making the same mistakes. That they guide me, they embrace me, they show me so much love, and another reason why I'm doing this is to also show them that, I want to spread that love that you all give me to other people. I want to show other people that, when you're in the receiving and the love, this is what it causes you to do. It doesn't cause you to pick up a gun. It doesn't cause you to rob a store. It doesn't cause you to go out and, get high on drugs and all types of things of that nature. Even though some folks have other issues going on, but love for the most part keeps us in check, keeps us in line, keeps us thankful. And that's what love should be. Love is unconditional. Love is patience. It's slow to anger. Love is something, the best example I can give you of love is take a mother and her child. And no matter what that child does, that mother's love for that child is unconditional. She's going to love that child no matter what. And before closing, before we finish on the verse, it says, "For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this." This presents the apostle telling us how the law is fulfilled in our lives. See, a lot of us, we claim that we say that we love many things. Some say, I love that house. I love that car. I love that girl. I love that man. But do we really love them? Do we first understand the meaning of love? A lot of us struggle with understanding love's true meaning. And as we finish up, it says, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. In this, the whole law stands fully obeyed. This can be done, and in fact will be done, providing the believer ever makes the cross of Christ the object of his faith. Accordingly, the Holy Spirit will then provide the power for us to do what we should do. I couldn't do it myself. I mean, if it wasn't for the Holy Spirit, and if it wasn't for God moving, and he gave me the vision, he gave me the revelation while in prison. This is what I want you to do. And I'm going to place the people around you to help you do what you should be doing. Once again, coming home. Auntie, you need to come to church. I come to church. Cousin, you need to put this on the internet. You need to share this story with the world. Here I am on the internet. And the list goes on, and you guys will learn it later on as I will share more of my life with you. I will bring you into my world. We're going to go places. We're going to go out. We're not just going to be sitting in here all day. But even though this is going to be my headquarters for right now. So, you guys just spread the word, get involved. Some of you have my flyers. Just, stay tuned because you're going to see some very interesting things. You're going to meet some interesting people. We're going to go some interesting places. And we're going to just see some things, and we're going to just be going about trying to spread God's love and trying to save more souls, trying to bring more people into church homes across the region. So what I want you all to do is I want to thank you all. I pray that God blesses you all, bless your family. And I pray that most importantly that no matter who you are, no matter what your financial situation is, no matter what your life is, be a blessing to someone else. Anybody. I'm pretty sure everyone knows somebody that needs some help. And maybe just needs somebody to talk to. Maybe just needs somebody to, give them shelter. Or somebody to buy somebody something to eat. Go out there. Show them God's love. Don't expect nothing in return. But just try it. The more of us that try to help someone else, the world will be a far better place. So until next time, I want you all to remember Galatians 5:14. For all the law is fulfilled in just one word, even this: love your neighbor as you love yourself. Thank you for joining me. Reverend Troy, I'm out.